Hi everyone, welcome to Cupboard Creations. My name's Gareth. This is my little corner of the internet for playing my food. Today I'm going to do some falafels for you. Now my wife introduced me to falafels. I absolutely love them now. I've never really thought of eating them before. You started seeing all these places turning up all over London. Kind of like these little falafel restaurants with queues all the way outside, and you thought, wow, if they're that good I've got to give it a go. So been kind of working on it for a while and I really love these. Much simpler way of doing it than you'll see in a lot of videos, but that's the whole idea of this channel. Just making it a little bit easier, using what's in your cupboard and stuff that's readily available and doing it slightly easy. So we can start off quite simple. Chickpeas, it's the main ingredient of falafel. So you're going to need to get yourself a 400 gram tin of chickpeas and just drain them off. And they're going to sit there for a little while just to get as much of the water drip through as possible, because the drier they are, the better this is going to work. The first thing we're going to do is kind of put together all of our flavourings. So what I've got here is mint. I absolutely love mint with these. Got 3 sprigs of mint. So you're looking probably going to be about a tablespoon of fresh mint. So you just want to pluck these . And then pop them in your blender. And then parsley. Almost double the amount of parsley. So I've got probably 6 decent sized sprigs worth. Again, just pop all your leaves off, whack in your blender. Okay, so that's my herbs. Next, half an onion. So get medium-sized onion, and you just want to skin it, chop it down. Don't worry about getting it super fine. It's all going in that blender. So we go, herbs in, onion in. Now for your spice. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of ground cumin to this. You can be a little bit more generous if you want to, depends how spicy you like it. Depends what you're having it with as well. I mean, I've flavoured this really to go with a lot of other kind of sort of Persian dishes. So there might be cinnamon, there might be other things in those other dishes. So you want it to balance. You know, you don't want it all to taste exactly the same, otherwise what's the point? So you want each individual bit to have a slightly different spice level. So to that, we're going to add a teaspoon of coriander. Go. Perfect. And that's it for our spices. Now just our garlic. So we're going to want here 2 decent cloves of garlic. Now I'm going to be serving this with a hummus I did the other day, roasted garlic hummus. So don't really want a huge amount of garlic in this, because again, you won't taste the other one. Ooh, threw that everywhere. So just 2 cloves of garlic will do me for this one. Okay, now, oh my eyes from those onions, streaming. Just want 2 decent sized pinches of sea salt. There we go. To that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Go freehand. 1, 2. And that's it. So we go. All your flavours are in there. Pop the lid on. Give it a blast. And there we go. It's all our flavours mixed in, chopped nice and fine, so it will spread nicely throughout those falafels. So now you just want to pop that out there, straight into your bowl. You'll notice it's quite wet with the onions blitzed right down. That should be wet enough, which is why you want to dry those chickpeas out. Now, we're going to blend up the chickpeas. So we don't want to blend these too fine, we want like little nuggets of it, because otherwise when you bite into it, you're just going to get this kind of mush in the middle. So all I'm going to do is just pulse it slightly, just to get them kind of semi-chopped down. Yes, that's great, that's where we want it. Got little chunks. Perfect. So now I've got those blended down where I want them. Pop them in as well. Right, so there we go. That's all the chickpeas and all the flavouring. Now to that, we're going to add just a couple little more ingredients. We're going to add some plain flour. And again, as they cook, that's just going to kind of bind it together. It's going to create like almost like a dough that you're going to use. We're going to whack them in the oven later, and it will kind of, it will hold all those chickpeas together. So for this, we want 3 tablespoons of plain flour for that much chickpeas. So go 1, go 2, and we go 3. And then to that, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder. What that should do is like you would when you bake it. You put it in there, makes everything just that little bit lighter. So that's what you want from a falafel. We don't want big heavy things. So there you go, half a teaspoon of baking powder in there. Now, get your hands in there, mix it all up, we kind of create a dough. So there we go, great point to check. It's looking a little bit wet. So that would be all manner of things. Whether the chickpeas really drained off enough, whether the water content of your onion is too big, but you just want to check it. It's never really going to be too dry. And then just pop in some more plain flour. Go tablespoon by tablespoon. Stick one more in. And what you're looking for is almost like a dough. So I always say, start with 3. Get it to a level where you can check it. And then keep going. So one more. There we go. You can see that starting to bind together a bit better. Perfect. So you can see it's like a loose dough. It brings itself together, but you can still pop it quite easily apart. And that is going to be spot on. So there we go. That is our falafel dough. That'll do us. Like I say, you've kind of got to work on this one yourself. I can tell you exactly how to make it. I can give you numbers, but that's why half the time when you see recipes for this, people complain, oh, it didn't work for me, mine was too wet. It's all going to depend on the ingredients you're using. Every onion's got different water content. All of your herbs, are they washed? Anything can bring in some of that liquid. So you've just got to monitor it yourself. As long as you look for that kind of dough-like consistency, it will work for you. So we're going to cover that, chuck it in the fridge. I'm going to rest that for about 2 hours. And it's going to need that just to kind of mix its flavours together, but also to let that kind of baking powder and all the flour and that sit. You rest it as you would any other dough. So I'm off to do that, and I'll see you in about 2 hours time. Cheers. Okay, so we're back. It's had a nice good 2 hours and it's firmed up a bit. So you can see it's got a good lump of dough almost there now. So now, quite simply, we're not going to make round ones. So the reason for that is I'm going to oven cook these. Now you can just roll these up, little balls, and fry them. Just put in about, half an inch of oil, and just keep turning them. But I've always found it surprising. It's like, I always think of falafels as it's going to be quite a healthy meal, and then you whack it all in a deep fat fryer. So I don't fancy that myself. So I always try and make these like little patties, and then we can oven cook them, and they'll come out just as well. I mean, not quite got as much crispiness on the outside, but all the flavours are there. The texture's still exactly the same. So just going to make little patties, probably about 1 inch in diameter. We're just going to whack those on a kind of oiled baking tray. So there we go. Grab yourself kind of golf ball sized amount. Give it a quick roll up and just flatten it out slightly. Now just allow it to have contact with that oil and kind of give it a crispy outside. So there we go. Now we've got them ready. Just going to give them a covering with a little bit of vegetable oil. Using one of these little pump spray things, not because I really want to reduce the amount of oil, but it actually makes it so much easier to get a decent covering on them. So kind of really worth having one just for this sort of thing. That's all good, nicely coated. And we're just going to pop that in the oven for 180 degrees for 20 minutes. Then we'll crank it up to 210 just before the end. And once it's reached that temperature, give it another 5 minutes. Just flipping them every so often, and that will give them that beautiful coating. So I'll whack those in there, and I'll see you when they're done. Okay, so that's had 25 minutes in there now. Like I said, 20 minutes at 180, and then just that extra kind of bash at 210 just to get that crispiness on the outside. So you see what we got. And that looks pretty good. So there we go, really nice kind of crispy shell to them. And that's perfect, that's exactly what you want. You want that different change in texture as you're eating it. So they're going to be great. So just time to plate up. You grab your little falafels, pop them on top. Got a little bulgur wheat salad here, which goes brilliant with this. Ooh, a couple of those. Go brilliant with the homemade hummus as well. Have a look, I'll put some links down below to the salad and the hummus. And there you go, my homemade falafels. So, hope you give them a go, hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.